Watercolor Techniques. Mountains. With Mr. G. All right, today we are going to start with a piece of paper and some masking tape. So as we've done before, we'll put the masking tape all the way around so we get a nice, crisp, clean edge. And we'll also use a scrap piece of paper, and we'll use a paper towel so we can dab our paintbrush into it. So I'm going to choose a nice kind of an orange color, maybe an orange sunset type of a color. You can choose what you'd like to today. Try to do kind of a lighter color and just imagine whatever sky. Notice how many times I'm dabbing some water into the little pot here. So you really should use these pots over here. I'm going to get a good amount of water because I'm going to create the entire sky. So it's almost filled up right now. And now I'm going to test to see how light or dark that is. It looks like it's almost a little bit too light. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit more color to that. And then I'll give it a little bit of more of a test. Try it out again. And that looks like it's about a pretty decent color. So we're going to go with that. I'm going to start at the very top of the paper, and we're going to go from the top to the bottom. I'm going to use the side of my brush, not the pointy side. No, not the point, but the side of my brush. I'm just going to go down each line. If I run out of paint, I'll just dab it back in again. And just slowly cover it up. So once again, using the side of my brush. See how I do that? Fill up the rest of the paper, doing the exact same thing. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as we can. I'm going to dry this off just by fanning it. You could probably fan it a lot longer than I'm going to be doing it here because I edited it. And then I chose a purple. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to put some of that purple over there. I'm going to dab some water into it. Notice how many times I dab in there. I must do it at least 5 or 6 times just to fill that out. And then once again, I'll use my paper to give it a test. After I dab a couple more times. Test it out on here. It still looks a little bit light to me, so I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit more color to it. So I just dab into the color itself, swirl it around, and tap it back in there again. Maybe even a couple times to get it darker. But remember, we want to start light because we're starting with the mountains that are the furthest in the background, and those are the ones that we can almost barely see. That's a little bit darker. So I'm going to dab into the paint, and I'm just going to start at the left side because I'm right-handed, so I always like to start at the left side. If you're left-handed, maybe you like to start at the other side. I'm not sure. So while I'm doing this, I'm kind of pretending that I'm running up and down some big hills that have little jagged edges on them. It's also important to note that I am using the tip of my brush now rather than the side of my brush like we did with the sky, just using the tip. One thing that you'll also note is that when I paint these, you'll notice that, hey, I can kind of see that yellow a little bit behind the mountains, behind my paint, and that's okay. That's going to give it kind of a hazy feel. And as we build up new mountains, that yellow will kind of just disappear into the background. So what I'm doing now is I'm just filling that mountain up just a little bit more so it's deeper and it goes down a little further. We don't have to go all the way down because we are going to be covering it up with another mountain. The beauty of watercolor is that you don't have the exact same color as you go from the top to the bottom. It's little shades of dark and light, even within a light shade. Now I dabbed a little bit darker color in there, so I'm going to work on my second mountain range. So you can do this you can start below your mountain range, and at any point you want to, you can actually go higher than the ones that are in the background. That's okay to do it because some mountains do that. Since this is darker, you'll be able to see the second mountain range in front of the ones in the back. So I chose to put a little peak right over there, and I think I'm going to put another little peak over to the right side. But I'm going to darken this up a little bit because it doesn't seem quite the right darkness. That's better. So I'm going to sneak a little peak up there, and then I'll have this one go off to the side of the page right over there. You can see how this one's a little bit darker. It's going to stand out. And as I do this, notice how the mountains in the background all of a sudden start to fade way into the distance. This is a great way to create depth in your paintings. Again, just using the very point of my brush. And I didn't see a good enough line there, so I went back over it because I wanted to make sure that it was dark enough. I'm going to fill in the bottom of these just a little bit. And I'm not pushing down very hard at all. I'm just letting my paintbrush just slowly go over the paper. And the water and the paint is just doing all the work. Now I'm going to go a little bit darker, add some more paint into that, and we'll work on our last one. So I'll do just a line of this, just so you can see what I'm doing. Again, I'm making all of this up in my head, like where the mountains should be, where I think it should be. This time I think I'm going to go up and then end way up in the corner there. And now you notice that with this darker mountain, that the other two mountain ranges creep back even further into the distance. And that's kind of the whole point of the watercolor technique that we're trying out today. So for this last little bit, I added just a touch of red to it, just to finish off the bottom. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I just thought I would experiment. And there we have the finished product. Let's take the paper or the masking tape off of it, and you can notice that it has nice clean edges. You do this really slowly when you do that, and then you won't rip your paper. For the second one, I just decided to start with kind of a regular blue sky, and then I chose kind of a rusty type color, maybe a dark orange. My second layer goes in just a little bit darker. And then I added just a little bit more red to the color this time. And there's that one, and I did one more. This one I did the blue in the background, but then I also made the mountains kind of blue in the background, and then I just decided to go with a darker blue. I used a little bit of gray, and I used a little bit of black to mix that up. And now I'm going to put shadows on the mountains. I'm going to say that the light is coming from the right side. This is an advanced technique. You do not have to do this at all. It's just something that I thought I would put out there for you. If you like to do that, you just kind of pick one side of the mountain you can add a little bit of darkness to, and then the other side automatically pops up. And I used a little bit of light on that one as well. Thanks for watching.